Hello. So I've been thinking about the electric state, and I've been thinking about the electric state probably more than like most other people who watch that movie. And that's not to say that people should be devoting more of their brain to this movie, because this is a movie that requires absolutely no thoughts. And that's kind of why I want to talk about it. We'll get into it.
Gaming cookie guy.
Entertainment.
But first, to start off this video, let's talk for a moment about budgets. Now, this video, the one that you are hopefully still watching, has a pretty small budget. It's a budget of about $0, and in return for that, I'm expecting to make a grand total of $0 from this video. And while there are plenty of cons that I can think of personally to that, the one main pro is that it allows me total creative freedom over the final product. I can basically say whatever I want in this video because there's basically nothing to lose, basically. The Electric State, on the other hand, has a reported budget of $320 million, making it the 13th most expensive movie to make of all time when not adjusted for inflation. Like, sure, there are plenty of pros to having a budget that large. Like, you can hire an all-star cast, you can do some lavish effects, and the Electric State does all of that in spades. I mean, you have Oscar-nominated actor Coleman Domingo join the cast for like 45 seconds of screen time. That's something that $320 million could buy you, sure.
New to you. Little jingle I'm working on. See the new logo?
Your real marketing whiz.
But ultimately, Netflix isn't making this movie for the good of mankind. They eventually want a return on their product, and that is the main con with a budget that large. They want subscriptions, they want watch time, and another way to put that is they want your attention. And whether this started out as their big master plan from the start, or it's just a happy accident that they've stumbled into over the years, Netflix has become one of the main sources of second screen content, and brain rot is great for business. And so I say all of that to say this: Anthony and Joe Russo, I do not entirely blame you for the way this movie is, because I have to assume that everything from the casting choices to the needle drops to the story of this movie itself were all meticulously overseen from start to finish by Netflix. But I can acknowledge all of that, and I can still say that I believe there was a massive opportunity overlooked within this movie, and that's what I want to talk about in this video. So let's get into it with full spoilers ahead for the Electric State. In this movie, Christopher, played by Woody Norman, is a genius teenage boy who is in an accident, becomes comatose, and is used when it is discovered that his brain is the only thing that will allow for the birth of a brand new technology. The technology in question is one that will allow humans to project their consciousness into drone bodies. And at first, this is only used in the military for drones v. robot combat. It combines the human mind with the stronger, more durable body of a drone. But eventually, this product is sold directly to the public as a way to be in two places at once. The ability to have both your work and play at the same time. And I'll fall on the sword. I'll be the brave soul to admit it. I work while listening to podcasts. I drive while listening to music. I sit on the toilet and I scroll TikTok. I watched The Electric State while playing Retro Bowl on my phone, and I know I'm not the only one. In fact, I listened to several reviewers of this movie who either directly admitted to having this movie on while they did something else, or they concluded by saying this movie is probably best enjoyed while it's played in the background. And so now you have a movie that features in its plot literally dividing yourself, your attention, into separate bodies. That movie is then streamed on a service whose business model directly benefits from people's need to have this droning background noise. Like, I hope you see what I'm getting at. I just couldn't help but see the irony in what the movie wasn't saying. The version of this movie where the very company bankrolling the project is the one that the movie condemns. That is the version of this movie that I would like to present to you in my rewrite of The Electric State. Now, by the end of this movie, by the end of The Electric State, I was completely sold on why CEO Ethan Skate, played by national treasure Stanley Tucci, was a bad person. He kidnapped a boy and he basically turned him into a human battery. That's a thing that bad guys do. I was also obviously sold on why Millie Bobby Brown's character Michelle would want to stop Skate, see above kidnapping and batterizing children comments. And lastly, I was sold on why the robots would want to stop Skate, because he is the one who developed the technology that defeated them in the war and continues to benefit off of their suppression. But what I was not sold on by the end of this movie is why Center, the company, why Center being shut down is a net good for humanity. At the end of the movie, when Michelle was giving her big, we won the day speech, I couldn't help but think that mankind would just immediately rise up against her. Jason Alexander's character specifically is going to hunt her down. Do you think he's at all interested in the plight of robots and this one boy? No, he just wants what he had before. He wants to escape his reality, and now he's got a villain to rally against. So what I would have wanted this movie to do is not just show that the man Ethan Skate is a bad person doing bad things, but also show all the negative effects of what he is selling humanity on. And we can establish that pretty early on in those scenes with the aforementioned Jason Alexander character. Show us his body just kind of deteriorating in a chair while his mind wanders on a beach somewhere. Take us to the schools, the classes that Michelle attends, and show us that her refusal to use the Neurocaster actually boosts her test scores in a way. She's able to focus, to be more studious, even though the Neurocasters are supposed to be enabling that for the students. Think of it like WALL-E meets Idiocracy. This is the path the people are on in this movie, and no one's calling it out. Because throughout the runtime of the original movie, the Neurocaster really is this complete miracle device. Aside from the one kid that's being tortured in order for it to be in use, this is really something good. It's giving people what they want. It's giving them an escape from their lives. And honestly, if it was in real life, I'd probably pre-order it right now. And I'd say our heroes in the movie are not using Neurocasters because they're doing it out of some kind of moral protest, but it really just seems like it's because they don't have access to them or can't afford them, because there is a scene where Michelle uses a Neurocaster. Now, I will admit this is a really nice scene. Of course, this is the scene where Michelle gets to speak with her brother one last time and have an emotional goodbye. It's really the emotional climax of the whole movie, but I feel like the sentiment of that moment was being undercut for me by her use of the Neurocaster. The whole movie, this has been a piece of technology, a symbol of hate and oppression. And so as good as this scene was, I feel like I have to cut it from the movie. But I'm not just going to leave it there. Instead, I would like to present to you my version of that scene, one that does not have Michelle use the Neurocaster, one that doesn't have her give in to what the villain kind of wants everyone to do. PC tells Michelle that the only way she's going to be able to speak to her brother would be to put on a Neurocaster and talk to him. And she hasn't used her Neurocaster this entire movie up to this point. She was opposed to the idea of using them before, and now knowing what Skate has done, she really is wrestling with her morals in this moment. Does she use an evil person's device, in her mind, an evil device, to do something good or at least do something self-serving? And in this moment, yes, she just wants to talk to her brother. So she goes over to the Neurocaster. It's right next to the Cosmobot and right next to where Christopher is plugged into. And she reaches for the helmet. And as she gets her hand on the metal of the Neurocaster, Another piece of metal, another hand covers hers. It is Cosmo, still connected to Christopher. Michelle looks over at Cosmo, still holding her hand, as he kind of just shakes his head no, as if to say, it's not worth it. Don't give in this moment. I'm right here. And she is just overwhelmed. All she wants to do is say goodbye. And maybe in this moment we get some old voice line out of the Cosmobot, like, I'll always be with you. Something like that. Maybe not something exactly from E.T., but something along those lines. And he takes her hand in his metal hand and leads her over to his heart, to her heart, and finally to the panel that controls the life support of Christopher. And the movie goes on from there. And again, I really did like Woody Norman's performance here, but I think there is just something of value in keeping his character silent after his death. Like, it's a bold call to make that decision, to make a character, like a central character, basically mute, especially when we would want to hear from him. And Michelle's anguish over not hearing from him only mirrors our own, but I think it helps prove our point that we're making in this version, that you don't need the Neurocaster to make a connection with people. You have each other no matter what. Which brings us back to the end. It is the same end as in the original. Michelle is giving her "We won the day" speech, but now instead of just the robots celebrating their liberation, maybe Michelle is able to prove to humankind that the Neurocasters are holding them back. They don't need this. They can celebrate their victory over their true common enemy, Center and Ethan Skate. And of course, you will still have people like, I assume, Jason Alexander's character very upset that you have turned off their Wi-Fi. But I like to think that eventually they'll get over it and go out and touch some grass. And so that is my version of the Electric State, one that exists in absolutely zero timelines, because there is no Earth where Netflix would agree to tell us to get off the screens, because that's where they live. And now that I think about it, screens are also where this channel lives. So, you know what? I take it all back. Forget everything you've heard in this video. Long live Ethan Skate. Long live corporations. Long live CEOs. Long live screens. Long live brain rot. So keep on doom scrolling. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.